Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Pointed in the Right Direction Book Podcast. So, today we have someone who's been on the podcast before, Mr. Al Richards, of which we are furthering the discussion. When we had him on the first time, we talked about doing a series about what it is to be a new amputee, the thoughts that are going through his head as he navigates things. And at this point, he is just starting down the prosthetic or prosthesis road. You still have a test socket, I think. And I learned a few things. This is differences between upper and lower, and maybe even slightly some differences between companies that you go to for your prosthesis. But we're going to have an open discussion here about things and learn what Al is learning. So, welcome, Al, to Pointed in the Right Direction.
Thank you, Jeff. I appreciate another opportunity to be on the show. And I remember when you first reached out to me and said, "Hey, would you like to do multiple shows of the journey?" And man, I was all down for it. So thank you.
Yeah, so many times. And again, we have differences between upper and lower in the way our prostheses are made. And I'm not aware of everything that goes into it. And as you know, we've taught and seen things, postings and stuff on social media. I'm like, oh, because in my world, the upper world, partial hand, let's put it that way, there's only a couple of choices you have depending upon your amputation level. So it's like you get this or this.
Yeah.
You might have two options and stuff, but that's really about it. And then the other day, I see you post that, oh, I've tried this foot for a couple weeks. I'm getting this one now. And it's like, oh, okay. I was under the impression you got walking foot because we're battling to try and get everyone that needs or wants one a second option so that they're not just walking around existing in life, that they can get out and live life if that's what they want to do and run and stuff. So let's hear what life's been since the last time we visited.
Man, it's been a hell of a journey, some of it frustrating, very frustrating, and other times it's been really good. I'm only just a little past 3 months post amputation, so of course my leg still has a lot of healing left to do, at least another possibly 5 to 8 months left of healing. Uh, I'm trying to remember if I had my very, very first socket the first time I was on the show, and the prosthetic that I had was just basically a pole. There's really not a lot of movement in it, and it was very frustrating for me because I'm like, man, if this is how it's going to be, this really sucks. I mean, everyone's telling me I could go hike, I could go do this, I could go do that. And I kept talking to my clinician, and I'm like, man, I'm really sick of this already. I mean, really, within about a week and a half to 2 weeks of wearing it and walking on it, I was like, this isn't this isn't for me. This really sucks. And of course, my leg was shrinking, so we kept adding different things into the socket, and my incision actually opened up a little bit, which was completely healed. But it was due because my leg was having so much movement in the socket. For those, if you don't understand this, the socket is the sleeve that goes over the leg, and it has to be extremely tight. And the reason for it has to be tight is because it causes your skin to move back and forth like that, which creates all the blood that pools at the end of the stump to circulate and start moving, which also causes the leg to shrink even more. and mine's just in there flopping around, and it was very, very uncomfortable. I mean, there was some days I really didn't even want to get up and put it on. I didn't want to use the crutches. I didn't want to use the scooter, but I also didn't want to use the prosthetic either because it was so uncomfortable. But we ended up getting another one a couple weeks ago. They remolded my leg, and this one's been okay. It's been a lot better. And then come to find out, we could do trial periods. So my clinician's like, "Hey, you can choose a foot, any foot that you want, and we could do a 14-day trial. We could do as many feet as you want." I'm like, "Seriously?" So I'm like, this pole that I'm on, I told Scott, he's my clinician. I said, "Scott, this thing's holding me back. This is just how I feel. It's holding me back. I don't like it. It's uncomfortable. I feel like if I had something that had more movement, it would do a lot better for me." And so I went to a hanger event up at the University of Utah and saw the All Pro XTS. And this thing is kind of like a blade. It's got the curve in it, and it's a foot that's got extra spring, and it's got rotation. And so we ordered it, and I wore that for about 14 days, and it was pretty cool. Then we had to send it back. I'm on a different temporary one right now that basically has more lateral and some pretty good spring. But hopefully I've got another test one that's going to show up today. We ordered it over a week ago, and usually it takes 3 days to come in. But I'm hoping I'll hear from them today that it showed up, and we'll give that one a try. But as far as the frustration of it, it's been hard for me. I mean, it really, really has. It's because I just want to go. Now that I'm standing on my own 2 feet, it's like I just want to go do things like I used to do before. And I keep being told, you are the tortoise, Al. You will get there much quicker if you just take your time. And I've really had to pull the reins back and slow myself down because my body tells me very quickly, you're pushing it just a little too much. And so I'm like, all right, I got to listen. And yeah, there's been days, Jeff, I tell you what, I've come home and I've literally taken my socket off and I was about ready to throw it against the wall. It's like, you son of a bitch, I've had enough.
Yeah, it is such a learning experience,
Mm,
a humbling experience, you know, learning to have compassion and empathy for ourselves. Um, it's just so interesting. And again, a mental struggle. That's half the challenge is the mental struggle, because especially being early on, you sit there and the memories in your head of running up a road, you know, it, everything is there. And then you're sitting there struggling just to walk,
yeah.
just to get up. And we had this discussion a little bit at lunch the other day. People don't realize, just like you have a dominant hand, you also have a dominant foot. And that plays into the picture as to um, whether your amputation is on your dominant foot or not. You know, are you struggling first, right off the bat, your first step, or do you get one step in before that struggle begins? And then, the other thing, let's talk about life in general, the ugliness of taking the showers, of um, having to get up to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night. Let's hear some of that stuff.
Yeah. I drink a lot of water throughout the day, so I get up usually once, but sometimes twice. I'd have to go to the restroom at night. And when I was living at my daughter's, it was a ways to the restroom, and instead of getting up and getting my walker and going down the hall and going into the restroom, I really didn't want to take a chance of falling. So I still had the little bottle that they give you in the hospital, and I would just get up and go in that. And now just recently moving home, just about a week ago, I live in a trailer. So everything's pretty tight quarters, and I have a stool there by my bed that I have to get out and grab, stand on the stool. And then I got to grab both my crutches and then get myself down and then scoot myself around the bed. And then, of course, the bathroom's right there. So, I mean, it's definitely a pain in the butt. And there's been many times it's like I'm just ready to step off the stool with my right leg because we do have those dominants that you talked about. My first step has always been with my right foot. Well, I do that, I'm going down, man. I'm planting my face in a wall or on the floor, and there's still after 3 months, there's still that time where I'm getting ready to, and I'm like, whoa, whoa, no, wait a minute. I got to grab a crutch to help me down, so that's something that you have to learn how to deal with. And it's like, this is something I'm going to have to deal with the rest of my life because you can't go to bed with your prosthetic on. And
Yeah.
and I mean, they even advise not to wear your sleeve when you go to bed, right? You're supposed to just keep everything open to give your leg a chance to breathe because it's all bundled up throughout the whole day, and especially in the summer with the heat. I mean, I take my sleeve off at the end of the day and it's freaking just water pours out of it because I'm sweating and things. And then, getting in the shower, yeah, it's totally different. You just can't go and jump in the shower and get done and dry yourself off and step out of the shower. Now it's you have to think ahead. There for a while, I was taking all my prosthetic stuff off even at night and then realizing I still got to brush my teeth and I'm trying to brush my teeth standing on one leg. And it's like, my gosh, come on, Al, think ahead. So now I go brush my teeth while I got my foot on so I can stand on 2 feet, brush my teeth. However, getting in the shower, it changes everything too because your leg swells while you're in the shower, even if you're only in there for 5 to 10 minutes. And so I go and I get in the shower. I have to have my crutch there. I have to slowly sit down on a chair and then get my legs in, take my shower. I have a little thing in my shower that I can grab to pull myself up to make sure I get myself rinsed off really well and get myself sat back down. And you got to kind of dry yourself off while you're still sitting in the shower. Swing your legs back out. You're on one leg, and you got to make sure you take care of your legs. So you've got to make sure there's a certain lotion that I use that doesn't have any kind of perfumes or things like that I got to make sure I get on, and then I got to allow that to dry before I can put my sleeve back on. It's just this whole process. And at first I was really, really frustrated with it. And I'm like, this is just a freaking pain in my rear. This sucks so bad. And I realized I was falling back into feel sorry for Al, and I don't know what day it was. I think it was probably about a week and a half ago that I literally had to stop myself and go, you know what? This is going to be the rest of my life. I just got to learn to get comfortable with it. I just got to learn that this is just a part of my life now, right? Everything that I knew before is gone. I've done it for 61 years, the same way, pretty much. As soon as I was able to old enough to take care of myself and bathe myself and everything else like that, now I've got to relearn. It's like I'm a toddler again, and I've got to relearn something different and also allow myself more time, because my socket fit really good the other day when I got in the shower. Before I got in the shower, I got out of the shower and was getting dressed. I couldn't get my leg back in my socket because it had swelled, just in that
Yeah.
period of time. So my days of jumping in the shower, 5 minute shower, get out, hurry and get ready, get dressed and be out the door in 15 minutes, that's gone. Now I have to give myself all this time. Like Saturday night, I went to an event, and literally 2 hours before the event, I was already starting to get ready just to give myself that time to make sure my leg was in my socket. I was dressed, comfortable. So yeah, it's a whole new flipping journey, and it can take you into the dark hole really, really quick if you allow it to.
Yes. And it's a journey with many chapters. And sometimes those chapters go back, one step forward, three steps back type things. I am approaching 9-year anniversary on my journey as an amputee. And I'm taking a step back. But you also mentioned, and this is something that helped me early on also, is looking at it as a child. And yes, you know, a new toddler, you got a great big world out there. Let's go see what we can do with it. That has helped me so much in embracing the challenges and having a little more compassion for myself. I have been taking dance lessons for a little period of time now, and it's come to the point in my dancing that this last week I chose to dance without my prosthesis, of which that has it's been a part of my life for 8.5 years now. And I taking it off, I feel real raw in the sense. And also, I'm using muscles differently and new muscles that I might have not used in a long time and stuff. So there's those challenges, and I've really had to take things slow and think about things. And I'll be brutally honest. I've shed a few tears over this last weekend because of some of the things that have happened, but also have it's part of my life. The fact that in my world, uh, I have worked hard to get my pain level down real low. And over the weekend and stuff, my pain level was extremely high. So that, and when we're dealing with pain, let's talk about our lunch date last week. And your pain level was way high there just because of the challenges at that moment.
Yeah. Yeah. Are you talking like right after, like the second day after my amputation?
No, at lunch,
Oh,
the way
yeah.
you came in to
Yeah.
the restaurant.
Absolutely. I mean, even when I got in my vehicle to come and meet you for lunch, there was some of those thoughts. It's like, man, I'm just going to tell Jeff, I'm just going to call him and tell him, no, screw this. I just don't want to go anywhere. I didn't even want to put my leg on, in all honesty. And I do my best, as who I am today, to have that integrity. So if I say I'm going to do something, I'll do it. If I say I'm going to be somewhere, I will be there. And I'm like, no, I'm gonna push through this. And getting out of the truck, I brought my crutch with me, and just walking up to the restaurant, which was a little ways. I had a little ways to
Mhm.
walk, as you know, because you
Yeah.
came with me, and I'm like, oh my freaking hell, this just sucks. This just really, really sucks because my leg was so uncomfortable in the socket that day. It just, the only way I could describe it is if you had a hydraulic clamp that moved in from both sides as you wanted to smash something. That's what it felt like. Like my leg was in the middle, and these two clamps were just squeezing my leg and squeezing, and it's just very irritating and got very, very painful and uncomfortable. And I think the whole time that we sat there at lunch, I actually undid my socket a little bit and pulled my leg out because I was getting to where even just sitting there having a conversation with you, I couldn't concentrate on it or even listen to what you was saying because I was so flipping miserable. And it is that challenge. And that thought of, if again, this is going to be the rest of my life. If this is how it is, I don't know if I could deal with it. I really don't, because this really, really sucks. Why can I not just get up and freaking just go like I used to? And it's crazy because there are days like that. That very next day, my leg was fine. Everything went in the socket really good. It was comfortable. I'm walking around, doing just fine. Now at the end of the day, yes, it was back to the pain a little bit because I had been on my leg, the majority of the day. But yeah, it's just you have all these new challenges. And even though I'm fresh, I mean, you're coming up on 9 years, but you still run across certain challenges. Here I am, just only 3 months, and I'm like, man, I got a freaking journey ahead of me still. How do I prepare my mind for this? How do I know? Because I'm going to have unforeseen things pop up. I'm pretty positive it's going to happen, right? So I'm preparing myself just like I prepared myself when I really knew I was probably going to lose my leg. I was mentally preparing myself, going, okay, I got to be ready for this. I got to be able to handle this just strong. So it's kind of like I'm working out my mind, just working out our muscles in the gym and just getting it prepared, or, you know, um, because each day I don't know what it's going to bring as of right now.
Yes, that's very true. And one of the things in that I've learned, and I use it in my peer support, anyone I talk to, at the end of the day, I say my prayers. I count my blessings for everything that I have and stuff. And I get in to bed and I go to sleep with meditation. I've found the meditation for the mind mental struggles has helped so much. So I put on just from YouTube, I pick a different meditation and put it on, and it's playing in the background as I go to sleep with a smile on my face. And I found that I wake up with a smile on my face versus going to sleep going, geez, today sucked. I didn't wear my prosthesis for whatever reason. The sky is falling, all of that. And, you know, it actually, I've noticed a reduction in my pain level because of it. But also, it helps me to have a lot more compassion and empathy for myself. It also works towards when you have an individual that just doesn't realize. And that's why we're having the conversation right now, because how many videos people have you talked to that really are brutally honest and tell you the challenges in life? For the most part, what we see on social media is, as some of my friends call it, inspiration porn, because life is just perfect for me. And, I don't have a care in the world, which we all know. Stop and think about it for a second. Life has never been perfect for any of us.
Mm-mm.
The child learning to walk, how many times did they fall down before they were able to walk 10 steps?
Yeah.
And we need to have that viewpoint.
Yeah. Yeah. Very, very well put. Having that empathy, and I go back and I look at how my life was before. And life is full of ups and downs. It's like that roller coaster. And I like to use the term shit balls. Life is going to throw shit balls at you constantly. They're constantly coming at us, and sometimes it hits us square in the face. It nails us. And there are so many things that I thought really didn't make my whole day, but maybe just for a short time made my day just freaking totally miserable and sucked. Now, where I'm at today in my life with my amputation, I go back and I look at that and I'm like, oh my gosh, that was nothing. That was freaking nothing compared to what I have to go through now. However, I still have to have that same mentality, because it's like my friend Sarah Foley that I met. She's the vertical blonde. If you can find her on
Yeah.
Instagram. I met her at the gym, and I'm at the gym and I'm sitting here and I'm working out and I'm uncomfortable and I got my prosthetic on and it's not fitting very good that day. And I'm having this little feel sorry for Al Richards pity party, even though I'm at the gym. And then I look over and I see this beautiful woman in a wheelchair who has no use of her legs, and she's over there working out. And that freaking, whew, see, I get emotional if you think about it. That
Yeah.
woke me up that day because I'm thinking, okay, here I've taken my pity parties before and going, okay, what's going on in my life now is much worse. And going, okay, I don't know how life is going to go. And then I see another individual who's got it worse than I do, who's out there just taking life as it comes. And it woke me up going, my hell, again, this is nothing. And you and I think talked about this at lunch. It's that when life is throwing us these shit balls, and even if we do have one hit us square in the face, it's okay. It seriously is okay, because now we have to stop and go, okay, what can I learn from this? What can I gather? What inspiration can I find from this? And I've had one person tell me that when I talked about that this amputation was going to end up being a blessing for me, and they didn't understand that, how it could be a blessing. And I'll explain these blessings because they have happened left and right since my amputation. I had to move in with my daughter and her husband and my grandkids. Their dog ended up having to be put to sleep because their dog was full of cancer. And my granddaughters used to argue who got to sleep with the dog. So they got to where they could take turns. Well, when I came, my one granddaughter gave up her room for me to stay in. She moved in with her older sister. The dog got to sleep with both of them.
Yeah.
That's a blessing right there. They got to spend that whole month together with the dog. My daughter's remodeling her kitchen, or was remodeling her kitchen. That time I got to spend there, I got to where I could come upstairs and she'd get me a chair and I'd sit on a chair and I'd put cabinet handles on for her, drawer handles and different things like that. And I got to go downstairs into the garage and she'd take measurements and I'd make cuts with the saw and she'd go back up. I went to the gym with her every single morning. That was time I got with my daughter and my grandkids that I would have never, ever had gotten if it wasn't for my amputation. So I'm looking at this whole thing, doing my best to go back and count the blessings, even though I still have those bad days, because they're going to come. There's no way of going around it, because you cannot hold that beach ball underwater the rest of your life. You just can't. You got to allow those emotions to pop up on the surface. However, by doing that, it has really, really helped me get through these times, because I'm like, there's a blessing, there's a blessing, there's a blessing, here's a blessing. I may not feel worth a shit today and I may be down a little bit today, but that's okay. That's just my emotions going through whatever it is that they need to go through. As long as I know that storm is going to pass and I'll make sure that it passes, then I'm going to go back and go, oh my gosh, look what blessing came out of that one. Because I'm learning each time, just like you've learned the last 9 years, almost 9 years, right? We have learned how to take something that we did not have to ever think about or do before. We talked about being tired all the time, how I'm so exhausted at the end of the day. And I read something that said people with amputations burn 40% more energy than people that don't. And you brought it up, Jeff. You're like, it's because we have to think of things before we have to do it. Normally, see, I'm not missing fingers. So I know if I know how to grab my bottle, I just grab my freaking bottle and drink, right? With your dominant hand, you had to think about it for a little while. You had to think of, okay, how am I going to do this? Me with my leg, I'm focusing on so much to be able to walk without a limp. When I don't have my shorts on and I got slacks on or Levi's and it just looks like a normal leg, I want to walk like I freaking do have a full leg. And my concentration totally is walking. And plus, I really have to focus on where I'm walking because right now, a little lip, a little trip hazard, or a rock, or a little hill, or whatever catches me and it almost throws me off balance. So I'm focusing on so many other things that I did not have to focus on before. I just went. And you helped me on that day when you talked about that. It's this because we're focusing on so many different things and we're using so much more energy on it. And I have to come to realize that until I do get to that point, like you said, with the baby walking. My gosh, if all of us was learning how to walk and we fell just once or twice, and if we said, well, that's not for me, I'll just crawl on all fours the rest of my life, we'd all be crawling on all fours. We don't give up when we're babies, but we're so quick to give up when we're adults. And so I'm looking at it as, hey, I'm a baby again, really. And I'm learning how to walk again in a different way with a different type of leg. And I'll get there just like I got there before.
And that is the honest truth. Just like this last week, I've had to take a step back and look at things a little different and try and learn things differently than what I've done them in the past. And, you know, let's all afflictions, I'm going to call it that way, because we can lump in, paralysis, CP, all these different things affect our bodies differently. And an upper limb amputee, you're lower, but I learned recently that, as you're walking, you're swinging your arms. That swing of your arms determines what they call gait. And they've done a study where upper limb amputation, because of not having a hand or what on one side, you're off balance. You're not swinging your arm as much on one side. So it affects your gait, which again, before long, you start having issues. It's like running down the racetrack, or you're depending upon what side your amputation is. Are you a NASCAR racer making left turns all day long? Having to correct, like the story goes along, the plane leaves New York, flying to LA, and most of the time it is off course. Yes, it's going from point A to point B, but they're continually making little small corrections to get it to land safely at point B. There's the wind that's hitting it, that might be hitting it from the side, pushing it to one direction and such. So we need to look at those little things and adjust. There's another local lady that happens to be a quadriplegic, and she tells the story of laying in the hospital bed early on, having that pity party and stuff. And she laid there and just started counting her blessings as to what she was grateful for in just still having hands, even though they didn't work like they did before her accident. And that's what we need to do each and every day. Again, it's men's mental health awareness month right now, but it goes for everybody. We need to have these discussions. Everyone needs to have compassion for the other individual. We don't know what their life is like. I tell the story of one of my good friends, gorgeous lady, but for most of her adult life, she's had a battle with brain cancer. And she's had brain surgery twice. And the first time she had that brain surgery, there was something happened to her optic nerve, and she woke up and she was blind in one eye. And so she, for over 30 years now, has lived the life of being blind in one eye, which affects your depth perception and everything. But to look at this lady, she's gorgeous. You never know that anything is wrong. But, in her struggle a year and a half ago, she took a tumble in the house one day because she didn't see the ottoman. It was on her blind side, and she tripped over it, fell, broke her wrist, and then she had she was wearing a cast for a period of time, then months of hand therapy and everything. We don't know what we don't know about any other individual in life. And we need to have that compassion for everyone. Everyone struggles, divorce, some trauma growing up, eating disorders, all types of things. We're always hearing lately everyone having different health conditions come up. I have a daughter that keeps having health conditions, and I've been healthy all my life. I count my blessings there, but she's struggling with some health conditions at the present time. And so, I have to have compassion and make time. Sometimes she calls me and she goes, Dad, I need help just to do this simple thing, of which also it, because of my challenge, there's been times it's taken both of us to do something because she doesn't have the physical capability of doing it, and I have a physical limitation within my hand. And we just, okay, let's sit and look at it. We discuss it. This is what I can do. This is what you can do. Let's come together and make it happen. And as a society, we need to come together and make things happen.
Yeah. Yeah, that is so true. I think Robin Williams did that quote about saying something that everyone that you look at is fighting a battle that we don't know. And you mentioned it earlier, Jeff, there's a lot of people that put all kinds of stuff on social media that makes like their life is just totally amazing. And that's okay. It is okay. And I post a lot of affirmations on mine, and some of the stuff I'm going through and other things that I am not. However, I throw it out there also to help people, to get people to realize, to open their eyes, just on how to look at life. Because again, life is not supposed to be perfect for us. It's not designed that way. It's designed for us to grow and learn and hopefully be able to handle different pains and different things. Because, I mean, a lot of people go through a lot worse things than we do. I've got a beautiful friend by the name of Brooke who just found her brother um, passed away, overdose, and I just can't imagine finding a sibling, that had passed away, whether it was an overdose or not, just being able to find them, or a parent, or anybody like that. And so again, it opens my eyes going, my gosh, I think I could handle this a lot more than I could handle that. And I lost my ex-wife who I was with 18 years. I mean, 4 weeks after I lost my leg. And I've had more of a struggle with that than I have losing my leg. So it's like I got these double whammies. I've got to try to figure out how to navigate and go through different things. And I went to an event this past Saturday called One Voice. It was at the Eccles Theater downtown Salt Lake. And me and my friend Brooke went, and we met some other friends that was there. And it was all these kids that ranged from age 5 to 18. And that whole performance was all about love. I mean, the songs that they sang was so cool and so amazing. A few songs that we've heard on the radio, but most of the songs these kids have written themselves and performed. And you just nailed it too, Jeff. It's, if we had more compassion and more love for other individuals and more empathy, our world would change. It really would. Throw the political differences off to the side. We all have our own beliefs, and that's just what they are, is our own beliefs. Doesn't matter whether, you know, I'm right and you're wrong, or vice versa. It's, what can we do as individuals to help boost someone else up that's struggling? Instead of going, you know what, Jeff, I'm kicking you out of my life because I don't like your political view on things. You know, even though you're a good person, I'm just going to boot you out of my life just because I see things differently. You know, so many people want to give so much love and respect to other individuals. I really do believe that they are out there. They just don't know how, because society has molded us in a different way to look at things differently. And enough's enough. I mean, seriously, enough is a frickin' enough. Let's just start spreading some more love and some more kindness, and we really will start seeing this world changing. And I believe more people are starting. I really do feel that there's a shift happening. It may be tiny, but that's where it starts, right? That's where it starts. It's just like when the internet came on, right? Everybody talking bad about the internet. Oh, this is just a thing. It ain't going to go nowhere. And this is BS and blah, 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 blah. Now we cannot live without it. Now we've got the AI. I've heard people say, oh, this AI thing, man, it's going to destroy the world and it's going to do this and going to do this. It does have its good sides and it does have its possible bad sides. But again, it's probably going to take off whether we like it or not. So, what about spreading some more love? If we start spreading some more love and kindness and empathy for one another, because I'm one of those people that if I see someone walking around in a grocery store, or at a credit union or wherever, and they just got this look on their face, like just a frown, and I'll go up to them and I'm say, "Hey, you'd look a lot better with a smile. I'll give you mine if you'd like," and it
Yeah.
puts them right up and they smile. You don't know what's going on in their day. Maybe they just found out their child's got cancer, or maybe they just found out that they're losing a parent, or who knows what the hell it is, or maybe they just found out their spouse is cheating on them. Who freaking knows? But by sharing a little bit of that, man, it goes a long ways.
Oh, 100%. And you talked about Robin Williams. He had those great sayings and stuff, but he also held a lot in. You
Yes.
know, hindsight being 2020, those sayings were probably a call for help at the time, and no one looked at them that way.
Yeah.
And you know, I made a post not too long ago where I called it "Whose Job Is It?" And it's everyone's job. If you and I are struggling because of something, we need to be open and honest and let people know that we are struggling and might need some help. A lot of times in that situation, we, as our friend Nick might call it, we're being small and don't want to ask for that help. We need to look at it for the blessings. We ask for the help from your family, your daughter, your grandkids, and stuff. We ask for that help, and we're also giving them blessings at the same time when they reach out, giving us the help. So we need to look at it both ways. The blessings we're receiving from having family and friends help us with our struggles, and also the blessings that they are receiving when they step up to help us with our struggles. And
Yeah.
that's what brings more love into the world, does it not?
Oh, absolutely. You know, it's crazy because all the hundreds of people that I've interviewed on my show who have battled addiction and have had terrible traumas in their life and lived on the streets and um, doing my show and giving them a platform to share their story is really, really cool. And I do my best with some of them to lift them up by things that I say, just like hopefully I'm doing that on as a guest on your show. However, at the same time, they are doing the same to me. You know, when you open your eyes, I'm just going, my gosh. I was telling somebody a week ago, uh, I said, you know, what's been so great about doing my show the past 4+ years is how much I have been helped by my guests without them even realizing it. You know, because we're out there. I've had people on my show who are peer support specialists who work with a lot of people in recovery. And every single one of them has said, you know, here I am trying to do what I can to help them make right choices of their lives, or at least hopefully get them to realize how what a great person they are and how amazing they are. But at the same time, they're really helping me more than I'm helping them. And that's love, right? Because it goes both ways. It really does goes both ways. And I think what's really important by piggybacking off what you just said, Jeff, is when you're needing help, don't have that fear and that shame of talking with somebody, because that's what keeps us locked, right? That's what keeps us in the dark. Is it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. Also, what's important is to reach out to somebody that's gone through what you're going through because they understand it. You know, I've had an amputation, you've had an amputation, but I can't say, Jeff, I understand everything that you're going through, because I cannot, because your amputation is different than my amputation. It's a different ballpark. It's a different sandbox we're both playing in. There may be some similarities. However, it's still totally different. Yet, I know you and I can still talk about it because of those similarities. But if I went to someone else and was talking to him who's never battled with an amputation and say, this is what I'm going to go through, they're going to throw a lot of shoulds at me. Well, maybe you should do this or you should try that. That doesn't help. It doesn't help us, right? Because we can shit on ourselves too, just as easy, but we're new to it. We're extremely new. That's why in the recovery community you see, and even the amputee community, you see other amputees helping other amputees. Why? Because they understand it. They get it. Just like people in recovery, it's people in recovery who've gone through the program that understand that are now there helping other people to it. And because then that shame is totally gone. The empathy is actually there. The compassion is there. And it is so freaking amazing because it helps each individual. I mean, that day you and I went out to lunch, just that hour and a half that we spent together, just shooting the crap and talking about our experiences was a blessing for me because I got to hear your side of different things and go, okay, all right. I think I understand this a little bit more, even though yours was a little different.
Oh, 100%. You know, having the open mindedness and talking, well, let's say we don't have any limitations and we're just talking that ugly subject of politics. And I'm on one side, you're on the other side, but we can, you know, quit getting butt hurt over the fact that I'm one way and you're the other way. Let's have the communication and accept each other for, you know, the fact that we can talk that way. That's what our country was founded on, is being open and having those discussions and everything. But we've, you know, I can't say how long, but the whole realm of the country has shifted and everyone thinks that they know best and what they know is the best and you have to do it this way, and that's not true or right. We're all a little different. Even talking to individuals that have the same or real close to similar amputation levels as we both have, you know, their life's a little different. You know, maybe they are larger or smaller weight wise. Maybe they have some type of allergy. All those things come into play as to how you respond
Yeah.
to something. And it's okay.
Yeah.
We just need to talk more as groups. We need to have more discussions. And this is something that I keep trying to get out to, I call it the medical profession field, that they need to let more of us with life knowledge communicate as groups. We had the discussion, and I've had it with many, many people. When I spent 5 days in the hospital, and I never had an amputee come visit me. I had family and friends come and stuff, but they all had 10 fingers, had no clue what was going on. And I hear that as I've been going do all my peer support calls and stuff to amputees, that the biggest thing they wished was to have another amputee come talk to them.
Yeah. Yeah. Same thing happened with me. I didn't have anybody come in and talk to me. And I know Hanger has supporters, that do that. Most everyone that works at Hanger they're all amputees pretty much. And they're there for some peer support, and I would just like to see more of that. I agree 100%. They have it in the recovery community for addiction. Why don't we have that for amputees as well? Because, you know, um, I had a few mornings I woke up in the hospital, fricking just bawling my eyes out, looking down, and my leg's gone, and it would be nice just to have had somebody there, whether just to put their hand on my shoulder or hold my hand and go, hey, you'll get through this. Everything's going to be okay. And just what little teeny again, we go back with the blessings. I had a friend take me out to dinner a couple of weeks ago, and we're sitting at La Fronteras, and this guy comes up, older gentleman. Well, I guess I can't. Well, he's older than us. He looked like he was probably about in his 70s, and he just goes, so how long? And he's looking right at me, and I says, excuse me. He goes, so how long? I'm like, oh, the leg. He goes, yeah. I says, at that time it hadn't even been 3 months. I says, well, it's coming up on 3 months. And he goes, I just want you to know it'll get better. And I says, well, how do you know that? And he rolled up his pant leg, and he's a below the knee amputee. Now with his pants on, you couldn't tell.
Yeah.
And I says, how long for you? He goes, 18 years. I've had it for 18 years. He says, just so you know, it's going to get better. Those words helped me so much. And then I went to an event, a recovery event, the following weekend. My buddy Joe and I went to this event that they had up at Wheeler Farm. And we're walking along this sidewalk, and I hear this guy say, hey, we got to switch shoes. I'm like, what? And I turn around and look at him. Well, I'm a right amputee. He's a left amputee. He's like, we got to switch tennis shoes. And we both start laughing, and he asked the same thing. He goes, how long has it been for you? I says, just coming up on 3 months. I says, what about yourself? He goes, 6 years. And he goes, you're just in the beginning stage. And I says, yeah, very beginning. He goes, I just want you to know it's going to get better. 2 people within a week told me that.
Yeah.
That changed my mindset so much, Jeff. So freaking much, because of the frustration of where I'm at, being uncomfortable, the socket fitting really good some days, not fitting so good the other day we went out to lunch, my freaking leg was killing me. I was really uncomfortable, to where the next day I was okay. To have those words said to me by another amputee tells me they've lived it, they've experienced it, they're right, it's going to get better. And has really helped me on those days. So for somebody like us who just had it, or you had yours almost 9 years ago, to be able to have someone come in and go, where are you at? Talk to me, and hear what they have to say, grab their hand, give them a hug, and say, you know what? It's going to get better. It's definitely, because that puts our mind right back on the path it needs to be on. At least that's my version of it.
Yes, and I have a story to tell. Again, um, I met this young lady at an amputee support group a few years ago. It was our first time there, and she was with a male friend. And it was funny because I was sitting across the room from them, and I noticed them walk in, and we look at individuals and stuff. And, especially within the amputee world, you look at the individual and you can see their walk, their gait's off a little bit. So, okay, they're a leg amputee. Or I look at hands a lot. And I look at these two, and I don't notice any gait difference. I'm checking out their hands, and I can't see any hand differences on them. And as the night goes through, everyone introduced themselves, and The girl introduced herself and said she's a leg amputee. And later on that evening, um, we started talking and we exchanged numbers to stay in touch and help support each other. And as I got to know her, we talked several times, and she had a health condition where early on, I can't remember exactly, but I think she was only like 18 months old. They amputated her leg. And she grew up with that amputation and going through life. Family didn't know how to deal with her. The kids at school didn't know how to deal with her. So she was being teased by everybody. And she told me the night I met her, she had these long leather knee high boots on. She said, because of all those challenges and stuff growing up in life, she learned to do that runway walk. She was that model. And she goes, I put so much effort into walking perfectly so no one knows of my challenge because of the mental struggles that she had from that. And again, that goes back to us talking openly about things like the podcasts here, but also, how many doctors' visits and stuff did she go through over her lifespan, and therapy visits and prosthetic visits and stuff. And she really, most of her life, did not have that support. So again, I reach out to the community of medical professionals and ask them, you know, create, get our numbers, help your patients, because there are each of your patients, help them find the individuals that have similar challenges and get the peer support. That's where we learn. That's how we can raise each other up. That's how we can help make this world a better place all around. And as we've been going for over an hour now, what are final words you have here, Al?
Oh my gosh. First of all, thank you, Jeff, for giving me the opportunity to be on your show. And I'm pretty sure we'll be doing another one,
Yeah,
down the road as more things
yeah,
progress. But,
yeah,
thank you again, for giving me the opportunity, and thank you for your friendship. Greatly appreciate it. And I want
yeah.
to again thank you to Cause Green, for introducing us. Just for those listeners, we're talking about our journey with amputation. We've shared a little bit, or at least I've shared a little bit about those who have battled addiction. You don't have to have those challenges in your life to go the direction of things that we've talked about on this show, right? About spreading love and having the hope, because we've got to have that hope, and we've got to have that faith as well. And I know some people out there, when you bring up the word faith, the thing religion comes in. Not necessarily we're talking religion, right? It's just having that faith and that belief and that hope that life is going to turn out, though everything's going to be okay. And we've all got challenges, and it's going to continue to happen the rest of our lives. Even though we've had amputations, we're still going to be battling things that's come up in our life, challenges that could put us through a loop, more than what it would be losing fingers or losing a leg, but do your best to wake up every day with that gratitude. Go to bed every night with that gratitude. It really, really helps. And when you also have that mind mentality that life is happening for you, not to you, that really helps as well. And again, you don't have to have any kind of life-changing event for you to look at life this way. And just look at the blessings that's around it every single day. Every single day, there are blessings out there. And don't allow something so petty to ruin your day. I could wake up every morning and go, yep, here I go again. Feel sorry for Al. I got to get ready. I got to clean my leg. I got to get my socket ready. I got to make sure I have my leg on before I can brush my teeth. I've got a rubber sleeve that I got to pull over when I can't get my leg all the way in the socket that almost feels like I'm walking on a freaking slinky and, just blah, 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 blah. My blessing is right now, thank goodness we're at an age in this world at this time where they have something that I could put on my leg that eventually will put me back on 2 feet. So again, live your life in gratitude, spread more love. And when you're able to do that, however, here's the trick. You can't spread all the love you want to spread until you love yourself first. You have got to love yourself 100% first. And when you learn how to do that, my gosh, love starts pouring into you because the people I have in my life to this day are some of the most, I get emotional talking about it because they are the most amazing individuals I've ever met my entire life. And I've met a lot of people in my life, especially traveling around construction and doing different
Yeah.
things like that. So, guys, love yourself, spread more love, share some smiles.
Yes, I totally agree. And I have to add one last thing. Um, since becoming an amputee, I learned early on the closeness, the love that we have for each other. I have so many friends that live in other states and stuff. And these individuals, at the drop of a hat, if something happened and you just ask, they drop everything and come in support. And that's what, again, the love, we need that through everything.
Mhm. Amen.
Thank you again, Al. And we will definitely be talking again as your journey progresses. And I thank everyone again for tuning in to Pointed in the Right Direction book podcast. And if you want to, go to Amazon and buy the book, Pointed in the Right Direction, your guide through the challenges of finger amputation. There's something in it that everyone can use. And thank you again, everyone. I hope you have a blessed day. Love to all.